Mayor. I'd like to ask Tim Davis to come to the podium and give us an introduction to item C. It's entitled Sanitation Lease Agreement. We heard this at Public Works Finance on Monday. There were some questions, and I felt it needed a further discussion tonight, possibly with the full council.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. As you are aware, today was the first day of our new single-stream curbside recycling program. As one of the major changes moving to the single-stream curbside program, we're no longer accepting glass at the curb. We still accept glass at Moscow Recycling, and in anticipation of that coming, we quit collecting glass back toward the end of July. During that time, we wanted to establish, for the convenience of our customers, a second glass-only drop-off area. In your packets, we have a lease agreement with Spence Holdings. They own the old Gilbert Auto parking lot, and that's where the second glass container is now located. At the Public Works Finance Committee meeting, there was some questions asked about the utilization of the new container. And I ran some numbers comparing the months of July through December from 2014 to those same 6 months in 15 since we quit collecting glass in July. And interestingly enough, we're actually taking in about 11 more tons during that same 6-month period. However, the utilization of the new drop-off container has not been what we might expect. It appears that still about 94% of the glass is still being dropped off at the recycling center. The new glass container out at the Spence property has only been dumped 3 times in those first 6 months. I would take any questions.
Okay. Well, sir, I got a question for you, Tim. So that container that's been out at Spence's has only been dumped 3 times in 6 months. Is that correct? Correct. Is there a need that we have one out there?
You know, I think it's a bit early yet, but it's a bit disappointing to me. When you spend the money to buy containers like that, we can certainly try to advertise that a little more. We've got a new newsletter getting ready to go out here within the next month, and I can certainly put together an article in there that gets mailed to all of our customers. Only being utilized that amount, it probably doesn't warrant it, but I would like to see us continue at least through the first year of the program and see if we can't get some better utilization from that container.
Your Honor, if I may.
Gary?
Additionally, one of the council's strategic plan I guess, major challenge areas was the recycling center itself. So if we are successful in identifying changes to the recycling center, that may in fact be a convenient place. So as Tim indicates, we're at the beginning of the program. After a while, the new single-stream recycling carts have just all been delivered as of about today. So I think giving the public a chance to get to use it, I think makes a lot of sense at this point.
Okay.
Well, I have a question too. Tim, do you think that maybe you're trying to make sure there's not going to be contamination? So if you have the container there, it will help with people putting into the single stream bin? Instead of, if 94% of the people are going to the recycle center and they're not yet using that facility, and you're hoping to educate them, are you worried that things are going to be dumped into the single stream?
No, not necessarily. I'm of the belief that folks just aren't aware that it's there. It's not right on the main thoroughfare. It's several hundred feet in off the street. It's not the most visible thing from the street. I don't know that we've done a good enough job getting the word out to folks. Certainly it would be more handy if I lived on that end of town to drop my glass off there than it would be to drive all the way up to the recycling center unless I had other business at that end of town. That was kind of the whole idea, was to make this elimination of glass from the single stream system, a little more convenient for folks.
Tim, I'm looking at the picture of the where it is located by the Gilbert Auto lot. I wonder, would it be possible as an educational thing to move it up towards the corner of Blaine and Highway 8 and put a sign on it that says glass recycling so everybody that drives by can see that thing? It's kind of hidden over there behind the building, isn't it?
It is kind of hidden. It's my understanding, too, that there might be other things in the works for that property. So that was kind of the spot that was offered up.
I mean, just as a temporary promotional thing. You could talk them into doing that for 6 weeks or something and then put it back.
I could certainly talk to Mr. Spence about that.
I think that might improve the use of it if it was more visible. Yeah, if it was more visible. Yeah.
Walter?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I did not understand that we were buying a lease on this container's use on that property. In fact, it's got a sign on it that says this space provided courtesy of Spence Hardware. This lease, which is $300 a month, was a surprise to me, and that's why I questioned, well, is it being used? I know we have had complaints from people that using a 20-yard item like that, in order to get any volume in it, the openings have to be rather high, and that people have trouble lifting their boxes or sacks or whatever up to dump them in. Down at the recycle center, there you put your glass into a couple of smaller containers that are about waist high, and then those are lifted by some type of lift and taken back and dumped in a similar 20-yard container back in the back of the property. So I would think some people, if they do want to recycle glass, just won't use this one because it is awkward. I think it was Art possibly asked a question at Public Works Finance about is there a possibility of building some type of inexpensive wooden stepped platform or something so people could get up a little higher in order to do the dumping. Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the lease as presented. However, I want to add to that motion that this be brought back to us prior to the lease's current expiration of August 30.
July 31st.
And that we discuss it again as to whether or not to renew and not just automatically renew as shown in the lease. I know we owe these people for the time it's been there. It's not that long till the end of August. Give Tim a chance to promote it, talk about it, possibly move it out where it's more visible. Let staff take a look at, can we maybe in-house construct a two-step platform that gets people a little closer to the openings where they can use it, and see if it's worth, then have the council look at it again first part of August and make another decision, do we continue or not. The 94% was, for, I believe, Tim, was for glass only. It was 46 20-yard containers being emptied downtown and 3 20-yard containers worth being emptied out at Spence. So it's really not getting utilized. When it was free, I was happy to have it there and leave it as a convenience. But now that we have to pay for it, I wanted to talk about it. So if I haven't rambled too much for the secretary to be able to get my motion, I'll leave that as a motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, we got a motion by Walter and a second by Dan, and that motion carries to go ahead and pay this term to the end of its lease, which is July 31st of 2016, and upon further review by Public Works and Finance. Is that correct, Walter? Is that how you?
Yes, please, so that we can make a decision whether or not to renew at the expiration of this first term.
All right, I'll start the motion with John.
Aye.
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 And aye.
Okay, we'll move that forward. Thank you. All right.